Good evening. At this time, we'll call the Wellington City School Board of Education meeting to order. The time is 6:38. Ms. Hill, will you read the mission statement, please?
The mission of the Wellington City School District is to create and maintain a highly effective educational system in which every student receives the highest quality education. School employees and parents work together to prepare students to become caring, competent, and responsible citizens who value education as a lifelong process.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Hill. At this time, we'll approve the agenda. Are there any recommendations for changes or deletion for the agenda?
Mr. Williams,
Yes, sir.
I want to add to the agenda, transportation.
We can do that under discussion.
Okay,
That'll be E.
all right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Chairman Williams,
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to add district attendance policy to the agenda.
We'll make that L.
Mr. Williams,
Yes, ma'am.
the one that I asked about that we said we had to add in open about the call times. Is there somewhere already on our current agenda where we can talk about that, or do I just need to add it?
Talk about what?
The call times, calls.
The call time in which calls go out at night for,
We can do that under G. Wait a minute. Yes, we can make that G.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, what is that, district call time or what?
District call.
Okay.
Okay, so with the bin agenda, 2A is going to be the agenda. All stay the same. We go down to 8. E would be transportation. F would be district attendance policy. G would be district call time.
Mr. Chair, a couple things.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
First, Mrs. Riddick Faulkner is not available tonight. That's 5D. And under operations with this area, we'd like to move the athletic grant.
Can that be repeated? It's hard to hear him.
Okay, he said that Ms. Riddick Faulkner is not here, so 5D will not be done tonight. And for F1 athletic grant, that is to be deleted also.
Okay,
Any other changes? Motion to approve the agenda.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda with the necessary changes.
Second.
It's been motioned by Ms. Barry Robinson, the second by Ms. Hale, that the agenda be approved with the necessary changes. Are there any questions? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Ms.
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Ms. Robinson,
Aye.
motion passes. Next, we'll have approval of the minutes, open minutes. Ms. Jenkins.
I would like to make a motion to correct on our minutes, the voting members. And at the bottom, we have Ms. Karen Daniel at the bottom of that voting. That needs to be deleted. Okay.
Okay, any other corrections? Okay, I entertain, motion for the minutes. Motion for the minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, it's been motion by Ms. Jenkins. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been motion by Ms. Jenkins and second by Ms. Barrett Robinson that the minutes be approved with the necessary corrections. Are there any questions? All in favor, aye.
All right,
Ms.
Aye.
Barrett Robinson? Ms. Robinson?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, next, we'll have Ms. Angela Lee Easter with recognition and upcoming school events in New Howard.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Another wonderful opportunity to share with you the things that go on here at the Golden City Schools. And with our recognition of Student of the Month. Our Student of the Month for Weldon Elementary Global Academy is Janila Ramsey. Nyla. Janila is a very studious student, very respectful, and always. Grandma. Our next student is Weldon Middle School, Jaden Perry. Jaden is an all-around good student. He is very respectful at all times. And now we have Ronald Valley Early College. This is Weldon STEM High School Career Academy. Her best foot forward. She's an inspiration to her peers and on her own. Our next student from Valley Early College, Cedria Scott. Scott is on the honor roll to maintain or for January, it is Mr. Mika Garner. Weldon Middle School proudly recognizes Mrs. Garner as our parent of the month. Mrs. Garner is an active parent at Weldon Middle School, and when she's called, she's always there. An acknowledgement for employee of the month is Mrs. Mary Capriano. Ms. Capriano is a wonderful staff support at Witham. She is willing and ready to give a hand whenever asked. So the next recognitions are our new hires. We want them to come up as well. Danielle Modesti, science teacher at Ronald Valley Early College. And we have DeAndre. And next, we'll have our fall sports, recognition and acknowledgement. Weldon City School volleyball, football, team, and coaches, and they'll take it from you.
Good evening, everyone. Before I get started with these presentations, I would like for all of us to stand, buddy, uncle, you're related to the athlete here at Weldon City School, please stand. But to you parents, I would like to say thank you for allowing us to work with your beautiful, hardworking athletes. And also I'd like to say thank you for attending all the long meetings at the beginning of the year, where you had to sit for hours and watch these videos and sign documents after documents after documents. Thank you for coming and doing this and helping us and helping the program to be in compliance with everything that the state of North Carolina requires our kids. So thanks for that also. Also, I want to say thank you to all the parents and the community people that have reached out to me or someone in the athletic program to voice their concern about their kids in compliance. You know, we invite that. Please call and check on your students. If you can't get a coach, call me. If you can't call me, call a principal. Can't get a principal, call the superintendent. We're going to get you those answers. We're going to get you those answers. Now, I want to say that I would like to apologize for the community in the month of December, okay, about our athletic program. Our student athletes, our parents, every one of our coaches work extremely hard to make sure, to assure the success and to assure the safety of all of our athletes. We do not deserve to have any individuals to use the board meetings as platform to give misinformation or to destroy the reputation of this program that all of our athletes and kids work so hard to build. Okay? All right, now, to ease your mind, Now, the department article did everything that they were supposed to do. And it's only took about 45, 50 seconds. It should give me about 45 seconds, coach. Thank you. So the first document, that was nice to put it out. The first document is a resolution document that we received from North Carolina DPI. Stating that Wellman City Schools is in total compliance with everything, with the athletics, all the documents, and the findings have been resolved. Okay, I don't know why we're talking about 2021, 22, but it's been resolved and the right people have it. Set of documents here, and what this document is, well, these documents are all the documents that you guys signed, making sure that we are in compliance with our students that went out on stuff. But you was there to believe in December that the athletic department did absolutely nothing for year after year to get this stuff done. You told that there was no attempt, and I just want to know that that information is wrong. These documents were submitted by me to an individual on September the 13th. That individual sent them to DPI on September the 14th. To make sure that we were in compliance. But for some reason, these individuals come here and tell the community and tell you that this stuff wasn't done. And let me tell you this, these documents, I'm the only one to have these documents. Okay. I wish folks thank you. But everything is straight, guys. All right, now let's go on to now let's go on and talk about the important people for young folks in here that's gonna be recognized tonight. First, I would like to start off with the volleyball team. And I would like to say first, that based on the documents that I have used and all the individuals that I have spoken with that knows a lot about Wellman City School athletics, I believe it's safe for me to say that this volleyball team is the first volleyball team to go 16-0 in the regular season in Wellman City School High School volleyball history. Now we'll get to meet the coaches and the young ladies that were part of this team. First, I'd like to call up the head coach, Ms. Phyllis Neville. Next, I would like to call up her assistant, Ms. Katrina Berriere. And the next name will be the actual young ladies that participated in this sport. First, we have Amani Mitchell. Next, we have Shayla Johnson. Next, we have Janiyah Lynch. Next is Cameron Dixon. Next, we have Christiana Solomon. Next, we have Sanaya Witherspoon. Next, we have Missouri Reed. Next, we have Mariah Richardson. Next, we have Kamaya Cole. And next, we have LaDeja Finn. Next, Janelle Baker. And last but not least, we have our WRAL Extra Effort Award recipient, 2022-23, 2023-24, back-to-back Taiwan Athletic Conference Volleyball Player of the Year, Ms. Brianna Moore. 2023-24 volleyball team.
All I have to say is at the beginning of the year, the girls said, okay, we want what we wanted. We want what we want, I said, what we wanted you to get, and that's what they got it.
Congratulations to all and the child.
Next we have Coach Kelly Jones. Next we have Mr. Michael Eagle. Next we have Mr. Lee Burn Bynum. Next coach, Mr. Isaac Miller. The next few names over here will be those of the Boston football team. Starting off with Mr. Detron Burgess. Mr. Darby Edmonds. Tamias Person. Kassan Devier. Nicholas Cheatham. Omarion Lashley. Tavion Tillery. Charlie Sutton. Jaden Gregory. Sylvester Witherspoon. Donald Burgess. Andre Durham. Tavares Connell. Jamari Edwards. Davion Williams. McKinley Person. Elliot Campbell. Mikal Harris. Elijah Skipwood. Inari White. James Scott. Andreas Thomas. Galvin Sutton. James Robertson. Taquan Terry. Lamar Wyatt. Demarion Edwards. Edward Hawkins. And Marcel Jackson. And these are 2023, 2024 Boston football. Volleyball, ladies, they went second round of the playoff, and this football team also made the second round of the playoff. So congratulations to you all.
Ms. Easter, we want to thank you for your presentation, and to the ball players, the student athletes. Everyone's not gone, but anyway, we want you to know that we appreciate you, not only as an athlete, but as a student, most important of all. But we know that your education is going to be needed throughout, and your ball career at any moment. But we want to thank you for being student athletes and participating in the Weldon City Schools program. Continued success. At this time, we'll have superintendent report.
Good evening, Chair Williams and Vice Chair Taylor, members of the board, and to everyone in the audience. Thank you for the opportunity to share key items with you. Going at why tonight, I have 3 items. And then the first one is about weather. When I went out, somebody said it was weather. And I just wanted to share with the board publicly and with those who are in attendance that when we came back to school on the 8th, we were shortly needed to make the decisions around school closings, delays, other things. And I just wanted to let the board know that we have ramped up our, what I call it, weather team. It's a cross-section of individuals in the district who are poised to provide information related to decisions related to what. The first and overarching principle for weather decisions is student safety. So the most important thing that he said is student safety. And so we're utilizing this weather team, instituted a new process called a hub last week where we met. And we looked at several things, including how we make decisions, what information we make those decisions, how we do that, one of those things is communication. And I shared with you all that we had some parameters around our communication system that we have adjusted that allows us to provide messages to parents after 9 o'clock and to fighters before 6 if needed. The goal is not to inundate parents with messages, but in the case of emergencies, when we have to make decisions, we wanted to have flexibility to do that after 9:06. That was item 1. Item 2 is January is school board appreciation month. So we have all of us who work in the district, all of us who provide sports to students and families and community, and we would like to say thank you for your service, for all of the board members and doing that you know it's not an easy task. So we just want to make sure that you know that we appreciate all that you do. The third item, we don't know that I articulated that student focused comment. So earlier this week, I was at the early college, and I saw one of our basketball players, and I asked them, who they were in the team here, are you going to win tonight? And they said, yes. And they paused, but then they said, yes. I think it's important to believe in yourselves. And so every day, we come to work, and the students come to school, we want to make sure that they believe that they're going to be successful, that they're going to win today. There's certainly going to be things that happen that challenge today. But we want them to believe every day that they can win today. And we also believe and hope that every day when our staff comes, that they believe that we can win today. It's really important, our attitudes, how we enter the building and the work that we do. And so those 3 things are what I have on the agenda. And I do feel compelled to say one more thing. And that is, I shared and started to share this particular monitor, if you will. And I hope that it will stick in here. And that is a welcoming way. A welcoming way. And the welcoming way really exemplifies who we are, how we are, and what we do. So regardless of where we are, if we're at a basketball game, if we're in our classroom, if we're at a board meeting, we should be exemplifying the welcome way. The welcome way should be a positive approach to how we engage each other, how we interact with each other, how we approach everything that happens. And I believe it is critically important that the welcome way is known by all of us and all of you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Salmon, for the comments. First of all, I hope everyone had a nice holiday break. Christmas and New Year. Hope the New Year has gotten off to a prosperous start and will continue throughout the year. We'd like to say happy birthday and happy anniversary to everyone who's enjoying those dates this month. On Saturday, the school board will be interviewing 4 candidates that has been selected as superintendent. We'll be doing that interview, and they'll be from 8:30 to 1 o'clock. Other than that, we just ask that the students here are coming back out to Christmas. We get a long haul between here and Easter break. So buckle down, shoot for it, and go hard, because next thing you know, it'll be the end of year testing. So we asking everyone to stay focused and get back on track. Thank you so much. Next, we have financial report, Ms. Campbell.
Good evening, Ms. Williams, Board Chair, Superintendent Dr. Sandleton, and board members. Before I present my report to you tonight, I would like to share with you. I'm here because I want to be here, not because I have to be here. I've served Weldon City Schools for over 29 plus years. In the times that I've stood before this Board of Education, I never brought you any false information. And as long as I'm serving in this position, I will not bring you any false information. Anything that I do to the best of my ability. If I make a mistake, I am woman enough to own up to my mistake. Edit, Buster Robinson, and May Robinson taught me to stand on my own 2 feet and to do what's right, to tell the truth, because when you lie, you have to tell another lie to cover up that lie. Your monthly financial statements for the month of December. In your board package, you receive revised financial statements from July to November. And this was after we received the audit report given the correct fund balance. And that was in the package. For the month of December, starting with our local expense fund, our beginning revenue was $430,402.64. Total deposit for the month was $86,375.99, giving us year-to-date total to $516,778.63. Our beginning expenditure is $275,386.38. Total expenditures for the month is $67,691.25. Bring our year-to-date total to $343,077.63, giving a net result as of December 31st of $173,701. Bring your unobligated fund balance to $1,177,011.38. Current expense. Beginning revenue is $1,375,577.52. Total deposit for the month was $112,446.20. Bringing our year-to-date total to $1,488,023.72. Our beginning expenditure is $1,021,199.35. Total expenditures for the month was $186,263.47, giving your year-to-date total to $1,207,462.82, giving you a net result for the year of $280,560.90. Bring your unobligated fund balance to $557,049.07. amendment number 16 through 18. I present these amendments to you for approval at this time if there's no additional questions.
Have a motion to accept the amendments.
Make a motion to accept the amendments. Second.
There's been a motion by Ms. Hill and second by Ms. Harrison. That the amendments will be accepted as proposed. Are there any questions? All in favor? Aye. All in
Aye.
favor? Ms. Robinson? Ms. Robinson?
Aye, but I can't really hear you. You're very low.
Your package, you received the all PRC report for them as of December 31st, 2023, for your information. Are there any questions in reference to that report? And just so the board would know that the state has opened up the transfer request for restart. We have not received the allotment revision telling us that we can move forward with that. I did send an email tonight to find out when I can start that process. So I'm trying to get that done before my exit at the end of February, if not before. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Campbell.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell.
He's right.
Campbell, excuse me, did you have the link of the?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not sure what Dr. Simon wanted to share with that. I have been in conversation with the Department of Public Instruction, school business, in reference to the conversion with links. One of their concerns is we do not have permanent positions as far as finance officers or HR, and it's a very tedious process. But what we did have a phone conversation with them today, again, in reference to it. And one of the things they shared with us is to reach out to Link to see, is there a possibility, and I know I presented to the board that we were going to try to start the conversion and everything in January and February, and hopefully to go live in July, to see if we can kind of move that implementation back just a little bit until those key elements get in place. Our interim HR director is familiar with Link now, but she is interim, and that was one of their main concerns. Those were two key positions, because Link intertwines with HR and finance. And then also we have to upgrade the child nutrition version, because the version that the child nutrition is currently on now is with Meal Plus. Meal Plus sold to, is part of Link. Titan, yeah, they sold to Titan, which does not convert, interface with the cloud-based that the previous finance officer brought before the board for approval. So we did receive a quote with this new Link company to do their conversion as well. But I did want to give the board an update as far as where we are with that. My goal was to reach out to Link right after Christmas, but due to circumstances beyond my control, I was not able to do that. And I just came back in the office on Wednesday. Are there any questions in reference to that?
No, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Campbell.
Ms. Campbell, I heard you reference the restart. And all of the components that go along with that. I know you don't have the answer, but in as much as you did say this, Dr. Simon, in relationship to restart, when is that going to come before the board, as far as whether we're going to continue with the high school being in restart, or are we going to withdraw? Because I think that comes up February, okay.
But I did find out today with Restart that, originally I told Dr. Simonton when I was checking into how much our ADM was for the conversion of Restart, we was at $10,000+ per ADM. But because our enrollment increased, it's a little over $9,300 per ADM, and it's over $4 million that we have to convert from our state budget. And if you remember, board, it takes the bulk of our budget to convert our Restart to cover everything with Restart. So I did, even like I said, I did email someone in allotments today that I have connections with to find out when is that deadline to be submitted, that it has to be done. And if I can get it done sooner than what they say, since I know the dollar amount, I am planning to try to go ahead and get it done and make sure Dr. Simonton is okay with the numbers that I'm converting, so hopefully it can come back in a timely factors where I can do the budget amendment to do the transfer, so you can see where those, everything's.
When is that deadline?
I don't know,
Oh, yeah, you did it too.
she had not emailed me back, and she was
Okay.
probably gone, because it's like after 4 when I went in to check allotments today. I thought it was in allotment division number 27, but there were some other things. And so I just clicked on the particular tab and saw that it is open where we can start doing the transfer. So hopefully by tomorrow, she'll email me back and I'll be able to know when I can start that conversion.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Campbell.
Ms. Campbell, when you find out that date, I would like to know, well, I think all of us would need to know that, so we'll kind of know the parameters.
Yeah,
You know,
I'm
what they share.
hoping they don't let me wait until they send us the initial allotment revision to
Right.
start. But if that's the case, then I have to wait till them to submit that. When we was talking with DBI today, because we are fiscal agent for the accountability staff, I told the lady I needed that budget allotment today
Right.
as well, so she told me she would get that out to me this week, so, and when I talked to, my resource at DPI, they had a lot of, revisions sitting in the queue to come out in the month of January, so they, like, in the past, they be popping them off, so I'm hoping they'll go ahead and submit it out soon.
Yeah, and I get what you're saying, that you don't have it, so, you know, when they give it to you, just, you know, pass along. I just want us all to be on the same page.
But as
So
soon as that revision comes, if it comes in, I go ahead on and work on it, and then it'll be in the board package for the month of February.
got it.
Okay, thank you, Ms.
Yes,
Excuse me. I know that you mentioned earlier about, something in the near future of exiting.
yes.
We, as a board, really need, and I don't know when you were planning on starting to work on the budget for next year. I know we've talked about it already before, but I would like for us to come together beforehand, so that we can start working on that. Because
We had that conversation today in our team meeting, to come up with a process, come up with a calendar. And I also, when I took bills to the department, to the county office today in reference to the new school, the finance officer mentioned that piece to me as well. Because normally, they ask for the capital outlay and local budget around the end of February. And I shared that with Dr. Simonton when I returned back to office. So we did discuss that piece today. We're gonna come up, Dr. Simonton is gonna create an allotment sheet so that we can start meeting with the principals and start talking about the different allotments. So we have started the process today on that. Trying to finalize some numbers there, so hopefully I'll be able to put something together tentative for the board.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Campbell.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to say, thank you to Ms. Campbell for all that she does. Youngest work, long and hard, and I know that it's a difficult time for her recently, so just publicly, I'll say thank you for the work.
Thank
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, next we have curriculum and instruction, Dr. Wendy Carpenter.
Good evening, board chair, other board members, superintendent, staff, and community members.
I am here to present to you this evening the instructional report for the month of January. All right, so prior to the holidays, curriculum and instructional team and the learning focus team spent one full day in each of the schools working with our building principals and their staff. Instruction was observed and feedback was provided. Principals and their staff were left with 2 follow-up questions that you can see in your packet, which we titled as big questions to consider for our next visit. How do you know your students have learned something from the lesson? And how are you effectively monitoring student learning? So we completed our next learning focus visits yesterday at both of the high schools and on this past Tuesday at the middle and elementary school. Each principal presented the learning focus team with instructional strategies that they have been working on since our last visit to address those big questions. And those strategies included distributed summarizing and collaborative pairs. The learning focus team observed students writing to learn the material, which is different than taking notes. They were actually writing to think. Students were given tasks that helped them think through and understand the key concepts that were presented during the lesson. The learning focus team also observed students working in pairs and or in groups. Students were sharing their thinking and learning with each other, and not only were they facilitating their own learning, they were also facilitating each other's learning, and that is what we would like to see. So the implementation of these instructional strategies has helped teachers, appear to have helped teachers better understand what their students learn from the lesson, and these strategies have also helped guide teachers toward effectively monitoring learning for all students. The next learning focus visit will take place in March. The CN9 team will also be completing Conneaut walkthroughs during the weeks of January 22nd through January 31st. Testing update. The elementary school students are completing the middle of the year assessments, and they will finish up those assessments by the end of January, by January 30th. We will also complete access testing for our English language learner students on February 13th. And the next benchmark testing will be February 12th through February 16th for all schools. We also completed fall EOC testing prior to the holiday, December 13th through December 19th. Although we have areas in need of improvement, and you have the data in your packet, the principals will briefly present what they will actually put in place per school to address areas of improvement. But we do have areas that are showing improvements in comparison to fall 2022 data, and you have that in your packet. Nonetheless, all students that were not proficient on the EOCs end of course in the fall will be invited to remediation in preparation for the end of course retake, which will take place May 28th through June 6th. Does anyone have any questions so far? Okay. So at this time, the principals will come up and briefly present their intervention plans. You have their entitled plan in their packet, but they're just going to briefly give you a summary of what to expect for our students coming up in February. Michael.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I wanted to start off by saying that there was a collaboration with our plan, with our remediation plan. So Dr. Robertson and myself both identified some key areas in which we needed to improve upon. Our start date, this will kick off the week of February the 5th, and it will end May the 3rd. Students that will be targeted, students needing remediation and accountability areas. We are using EBOS as one of the identifying factors. Those areas are English 2, Math 1, Math 3, and Biology. Again, those subjects impact what our school performance grade is at the end of the school year when that report comes out from BPI. Instructional support and remediation times. So our teachers will use their planning period to pull students who have been identified as students needing additional assistance. They will not use their entire planning period, as we're on a 90-minute block. They will use 60 minutes of their 90-minute planning period. So they still will have 30 minutes to plan their lesson going forward. These days of remediation will take place on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Different materials such as Edgenuity, Delta Math, Envision, Integrated Math, release versions of previous EOC testing guides, Learning Focus, Instructional Framework, and Study Island will be used during this time to assist those students. At the high school, we will have 4 certified teachers working in the areas of Math 3, Math 1, English 2, and Science and Math. At Arvett, they will have 3 certified teachers working in the areas of Science, Math 3, and English 2. This concludes the remediation plan that we will both have on our sites. So now I'm gonna turn it over to Dr. Robinson. She's going to speak to you about a academy that we want to do on Saturdays to address some attendance issues that we both have seen at both the high school and at Arvett.
So good evening, board chair. As Mr. Hopkins said, we collaborate on this, we share a lot of the same courses and classes, and we kind of have students going in and out of our buildings, doing the same things, so we just decided to work together because we're trying to build a stronger program on both campuses. So the Saturday Academy is time slated and set aside for students to make up seat time due to excessive absences, and we ran into a lot of that this past semester, and so in order for students to really be successful on Arvett campus and on high school campus, we know that they need to make up the seat time because they're not, the grade that they're receiving is not indicative of their time in the seat. So Saturday Academy will run from 8 o'clock a.m. until 12 o'clock p.m. for no less than 9 Saturdays, leading up to the end of the semester. We will have a teacher from my campus and from the high school campus, and they will come here for Saturday Academy because, as you know, HCC is closed on Saturday. The Saturday Academy will allow for seat time to be made up in an uninterrupted learning environment. Students will also have time to make up work and complete assignments during that time and get help, get remediation if necessary because they didn't miss instructional time in the classroom. So we are asking that we also be able to implement Saturday Academy as part of our remediation plan and program. Hopefully that will address some of the absenteeism and the issues with absenteeism that we're both facing on both campuses.
Our goal is for our students to be in attendance at least 90% of the semester. If you're not here, you can't learn.
That's true.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Robinson and Mr. Hopkins.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. The middle school is taking a different approach in that we're gonna go back and reinvent our charter time again this year. All teachers will receive duty-free lunch, so they will still have their plan. Mr. Pullen and I will be the lab facilitators, and we will be pulling a group of students daily into the lab while teachers work with their bubble and green students. There's a layout for the in-school plan. We identified that a lot of the teachers are new, they need help with creating their lesson plans. So Ms. Friend and Ms. Lewis will actually be the curriculum leads, and I am assisting with science myself to make sure that teachers are getting what they need to give the students quality lessons. On Saturdays, starting I think it's March.
7th.
March 2nd, we would like to start our Saturday Academy. With that, we want to aim to help with those who are not attending school regularly, who are, in court, as well as, work with our local students, particularly during that time. And that is the part in which staff would be reimbursed for the time in which they put in. So our focus is at getting all of the students, remediation during the day, so no student is left out, but Saturdays, we want to add to it and get them a little bit more quality instruction. Are there any questions?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Keller.
You're welcome.
All right, good evening to all.
Good evening. Good evening.
Weldon Elementary Global Academy is eager to strive to meet our goals towards proficiency, representing the after-school push for proficiency program. As means of escaping from the title low performer. Our strive will prove that we will replace our letter grade with a much suitable fit. Our students are well above an F. We look and we see that, that letter grade is an F, but I know for sure that our students is above an F. The Uyghur team will implement hard work and determination to ensure all students grow. The after-school program will be held on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it will target grade level 2nd through 5th. It is scheduled to start on February the 6th for a maximum of 14 days. Total hours per week will be 3 hours. 3:30 to 5 o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Students will be selected using benchmark results for 3rd through 5th and MOI composite scores for our 2nd graders. Programs that will be used: SchoolNet, Study Island, eSparks, ExactPath, ClassWorks, Reading Eggs, and curriculum CKLA and Reading Horizon. So how we grow all students? So even though we're pushing the push for proficiency for our students and we're targeting the benchmarks as well as our composite scores, that's going to lay in between a percentage. So how will we grow all of our students? Early start boot camp schedule. The schedule will allow successful completion of standards objectives while serving all grade levels during the school day with the option of some after-school tutoring. And this is beyond the after-school program. So I know that we'll be targeting a select few students when we're pushing for proficiency, but I would like to share with you that we're determined to grow all of our students. So this second part that I'm going over right now is how we will do that. So we will extend and increase the number of hours of our current tutors. So we do have current tutors in the building that have pulled out with our students. So by increasing that time, we're serving more students. We'll hire, the hope is to hire additional school day tutors and after school tutors to target the needs of all students. We plan to start this implementation soon. So we're gradually coming upon our EOG. So we just want to make sure that all of our students are well prepared. That ends my presentation. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Okay, next we'll have exceptional children. Ms. Camille Fields. She's been coming in just deleted. Okay, all right, Mr. Hunt.
I'm sorry, Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I know that you said
we were supposed to have some updates from Exceptional Children and it went out, so I'm not sure exactly what was said after then.
Okay, we're going back to Mr. Hunter because he changed it from the, athletic grant. I thought that was the only thing that he was having. So
Okay.
Mr. Hunter is up now about operation.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Board chair, board members, superintendent, colleagues, community. Won't be before you long today. Just want to bring you a few updates from operations. Real short time span, so it was a whole lot that we need to present out today. We'll start off with, let you know that our new maintenance supervisor has come on board, hitting the ground running, Mr. Elliot Johnson. So we've been working with him, get him acclimated with the departments and the schools. He's been going out, looking and seeing, exploring all the schools, getting familiar with, some of the things that we have to work on. And implementing new ideas of how we can make the buildings a whole lot safer and better for our students. We also been delivering, still up doing our food deliveries. Replacing, valves and batteries in our restrooms. We're still working on the lights at the elementary school. Still working on that transformation. Where we're taking incandescent bulbs out or light bulbs and replacing with LED bulbs. So that's an ongoing process. Also had a security issue at the middle school with the alarm system, so we went in and assessed that and we got that straightened out. And they also in the cafeteria had a issue with their HVAC unit where the air handler that went out. So we had an issue with the freeze stand and went in and got that repaired. Looking at the chiller at the middle school, with that replacement, we did submit the contract to Tower Heating and Air, and we were just waiting for that to be signed and returned so that we can present it to the board. So you can look at it and get the the board chair signature on it. On January the 10th, so on January the 10th, we had our steering committee meeting with Rachel for the new Weldon 612 school. We discussed talking about the new construction management risk selection. We also looked at according to the timeline, it was time for the 6% construction document deadline, which they did turn that in on January 9th. And they submitted it to DBI for their review and comments, as well as we also shared it with the new CM at risk for their review, so that they can start getting up to speed where the design team is at with the new school project. We also discussed looking at the different types of access controls for the new schools. Looking at security at the middle school and the high school in the entry areas. Talked about the different types of card readers at exterior doors. Looking at where we want to put the video camera locations, as well as remote door buzzers for buzzers and locks for delivery entrance. We talked about the opportunities for reusing the brick. I know one of the things that we had discussed at the board meeting from the existing school Ratio has put together some options for, whether to look at. We haven't received those yet, but once they, submit those to us, we'll make sure that the board members get a chance to look at those. And they're developing a monumental, front sign that will be facing County Road. They're looking at the furniture, fixtures, equipment, the FFE package. And they're gonna send out a document for Wetland review regarding the items on that, within that package. They're also looking at a date that they wanna do a site visit, either February the 19th or March the 5th. I need to get the principals to make sure which one of those dates will be, suitable for us, so that they can come out and look at, have a conversation with the staff as far as the furniture that we'll be, receiving. Our next staff meeting with, Ratio will be on Wednesday, January 24th at 10 o'clock. For transportation, we are looking at the, Edgelog time and attendance project. That's what we're working on now. I spoke with, Travis Myers. He's the project manager in charge of that particular process. And he's put in a request for the, installation date for the installers to come out and, start that process of installing the equipment on the buses. We're also working with the technicians and the behind the scenes, with the firewall. They've discovered they have a little issue in the communication, so they're working the bugs out of that so that we can, so that the devices will be able to communicate with each other. We have a meeting with Travis on the 22nd, to discuss the project, status and where we need to, what are our next steps. Bus monitor, we have recommended a, full bus monitor for our, pre-K. So hopefully this individual get, approved, then we just need to take it through the training process with the K staff representative. Get them an NCID number assigned, have them fingerprint in the background, and then we can, get them started on riding the buses with our pre-K students. We're also looking at interested, people that will back up when we do have a, issue with someone, having to call out and we need some extra support with the buses. Are there any questions?
I have a question, Mr. Hunter. You had mentioned, the next, meeting with Ratio
Yes, ma'am.
as being January 24th at 10 a.m.
Yes, ma'am.
Where will it be held?
It's gonna be first.
Do you mind if we get a link sent to us?
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Hunter?
Yeah.
Also, I know some of the meetings, I know that when we spoke with Hal before, he stated that those meetings were scheduled, they were basically up to us. Is there any reason why we're not having those evening meetings so that the community can be involved and not midday?
As far as the evening, I really don't know why they, don't have any evening meetings. Or why they switched that. I know they used to have like those evening meetings, but then, Nick just started having them during the daytime at 10 o'clock. That's just when they started rescheduling at 10 o'clock.
Dr. Simonton, is that's something we need to look into, because we want the community and all board members, if possible, to be a part of that. And sometimes 10 o'clock in the day poses a problem versus in the evening.
Yes, there is a published calendar of meetings that's already out there, and it was developed in the beginning of the process. So there are both virtual and in-person meetings, and there are morning and evening meetings. If it's the board's pleasure to move all those meetings to the evening, so do that.
Can someone please repeat what he said? I did not understand what he said.
That's no problem there. We understand better.
Okay.
All right,
Ms.
Mr.
Bird Robinson, can you hear me?
I can now, yes.
I said there was a calendar published at the beginning of the process that included both virtual and in-person meetings. And some of those meetings, were scheduled in the morning and some were scheduled for the evening. If it's the board's pleasure to move more of those meetings to the evening, we can certainly do that.
Well, that was one of the things that we had asked, and that's when Hal said that the meetings was totally up to when we wanted to have them. I do realize that, you know, as you said, there was a schedule that was sent out early on, but that was also something that we talked about because that way more people could probably be involved. That was the question. So I guess my concern is if we can look at that again.
The last in-person meeting that was held here was in November.
Mm-hmm.
That was the one at night when I came.
Yes.
When we talked about the street over there.
Yeah, that was the last.
That was the last one.
And what month was that? That was November.
Ms. Perry Robinson, to my understanding, some of the meetings, it didn't need the community involvement. They scheduled the meetings in the morning, which was at 10, and then they set up another meeting for those who couldn't attend to be there virtually in the afternoon. I think it was 5 or 5:30 to take place.
Right.
But some of those meetings, it was just that the board, not the board, the steering committee, the teachers, the principals could be at those meetings where needed. And then when there was something that was concerning the community, they held an afternoon session. So every session wasn't in the morning.
And that's what I'm talking about. The ones that the community can be involved in, not only, I mean, it's okay to have it during the morning, but I do realize that some people work. You have some board members who work during the day. You have some of our community members, but the ones that the principals are involved, that's a totally different story, unless it is a meeting that the principals need to be involved as well as the community. I just want, as much as we can have our community involved, I want us to have that option for our community to be able to participate.
Okay, Mr. Hunter, you're checking that. Mr. Hunter, check into that.
So board members, I mean, there are open meetings law implications to, I guess it depends on what direction the board wants to take here. You know, I think if I remember correctly, there was a schedule. Some meetings were entirely internal between staff and ratio. Some were specifically established for board members to participate to the extent that they were able to. Those were the evening meetings. You know, our guidance at that time was to make sure that those evening meetings were noticed in the event that the quorum of the board were to appear, so that, you know, you would comply with your open meetings law obligations. And the same would be true for any intentionally scheduled public input sessions, which there may have been at least one of those when, you know, prior to the board making its design decision. So if it's the pleasure of the board to schedule additional public input sessions, and that would be something that would need to be noticed, you know, 48 hours in advance. If it's the pleasure of the board to schedule additional meetings at which board members, you know, steering committee members may or may not attend, those would also need to be noticed. But I do know that was, you know, there was a lot of conversation with ratio and staff around, you know, when and how to schedule those. So I'd say all that to say, if one of those things is being proposed or both, we would just need to make sure that those dates are clearly identified and that there's also appropriate notice given in the event that there will be a quorum of the board present.
Any other question?
So, just so I understand, I put a calendar, so you want to be informed on all the rest of the meetings or the next meeting?
It's the next
Because the
meeting,
next in-person meeting is February 7th,
February 7th.
that's in person.
And is that a steering committee meeting? Is that one of the
That is-
pre-scheduled?
Yes, that's a steering committee, right?
So that meeting would be noticed. And if it is noticed, it's an open meeting, the public can certainly come and watch, the meeting and the proceedings. It wouldn't necessarily be a public input meeting. So that's what I'm trying to figure out, that's what the board wants is more opportunities for receiving public input in a official meeting setting. That would need to be something entirely new added to the schedule. Because even those already scheduled steering committee meetings, those aren't public input sessions. Those are under the open meetings law. Those are just special called meetings. Public can certainly come, like they can come to a regular board meeting or any other special called meeting. But they're not necessarily intended to be set up with, like public comment. Not saying you can't do that, but it would just, I think for staff, you all would probably want to be clear as to what it is that the board is looking for. If you're looking for a public input meeting, that would be something entirely new. Notice it, you set it up for that particular purpose, but that's different from the steering committee meetings.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Williams, if I was interpreting what you said correctly, I think you were basically saying what the attorney just said. I think we've gotten past the point of public input. That's why we, did so many meetings. Did I interpret what you were basically saying, that we had the public comment meeting? We did all of that, before choosing the design, all of that?
That's correct.
Right, and I thought now we were at the point, and I'm all in favor of announcing a meeting if need be, but I thought we were at the phase now where it was just the steering committee, and if board members showed up, we could participate, but I thought we were past that, the public input part. And the only reason why I say that, because if we go back now to public input, we're gonna circumvent everything that we put in motion trying to get into the school by start of school year 2026. If we go back to public comment now, I mean, that's gonna throw us behind. Well, I'm all in favor of public comment and public input, but I think at this point, it should be for information to the public, and not that we're going back trying to have additional input. I think we did all of that up front. And I only say that again because I don't know if anybody else has looked at it or not. But if we don't start doing some things, I'm talking about ASAP, like modulars and things of that nature, we're gonna be way going closer to the end of this school year, which is gonna throw us months and months and months behind. And we all know that some of the things that we're gonna need to make this transition, we gotta purchase. And we have not already purchased that, so that means it has to be made. And if we go back to that stage, I think we're going to put ourselves as a district, as a whole district, at a disadvantage. If we go back to that stage. Now, I think it should just be for information, and just, let the steering committees bring the information. If board members have input, we can announce it as a meeting. But I think we are way beyond the public input point. That's just my take on it.
Mr. Williams?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what I was saying, not necessarily the input piece, but having the meeting at a time that the community, if they wanted to come in and listen, that they can certainly do that, because we do want our community to be informed. So that's what I'm talking about. But as long as we're getting the information out to the community, then I'm certainly okay with that. But I do want to keep our community informed as much as we possibly can about their school, our school.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Go ahead, Mr. Hunt. Finish? Okay, thank you, Mr. Hunt.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter.
Okay, next we have Exception to the Children by Ms. Fields.
Good evening, board members.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I've recently completed the recertification process for the district for the NC track through the Medicaid billing. And that should begin for us to receive additional funds for Medicaid.
I have a question, why they trying to get that grade?
Go ahead.
Ms. Fields, this report that they're uploading,
Mhm.
did you submit that for us to have it in our packet tangibly? I didn't get this in the packet, I was just asking, I didn't know if it got lost in the shuffle or what.
It was actually created last month for December when I was not here.
Okay,
And I'm a little short-handed right now because my administrative assistant, my right hand is out.
okay, all right.
I'm here to present the exceptional children and preschool department tonight. As our preschool program expands and grows, I'd like to share some important policy with you. A free appropriate public education must be available to all children residing in the state between the ages of 3 through 21, including children with disabilities who have been suspended or expelled from school, as provided for in North Carolina policy. Any child with a disability who requires special education and related services and who has not graduated from high school is eligible to continue to receive a free appropriate public education until the end of the school year in which that child reaches the age of 22. FAPE for children beginning at age 3, each LEA must ensure that the obligation to make FAPE available to each eligible child residing in the LEA begins no later than the child's 3rd birthday. And an IEP or an IFSP is in effect for the child by that date in accordance with policy. If a child's 3rd birthday occurs during the summer, the child's IEP team shall determine the date when services under the IEP or IFSP will begin. Children advancing from grade to grade, each LEA must ensure that FAPE is available to any individual child with a disability who needs special education and related services, even though the child has not failed or been retained in a grade or grade and is advancing from grade to grade. The LEA or child finder must have in effect policies and procedures that ensure that all children with disabilities 3 through 21 residing in the LEA, including children who are homeless children or wards of the state, regardless of the severity of their disability, and who are in need of special education and related services are identified, located, and evaluated. That goes the same for currently placed in a private school located in our LEA. So next I have the preschool enrollment count. We're at 33. We have operating out of 2 classrooms. The December 1 head count is 96. And next with the eligibility, that's the breakdown of the eligibility categories that we serve in this district. The IDA grant was awarded. Additional pre-K funding has been awarded from the governor's initiative. $3,861 per classroom for a total of $7,722. We should be receiving those funds. For this school year, we have some new services for our EC and pre-K children. Those services are hearing impaired teacher and sign language. She's working at Wigan now with one of our children, first time ever. Audiologists, hearing screenings, and evaluations are being completed. And we also started last week, we have autism screenings and evaluations. So with these type of services in place, we'll be able to move quickly and actually pinpoint the areas that our children are eligible and the services and therapies that they need.
Ms. Fields,
Yes.
question. Mr. Williams?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, Ms. Fields, you said that the new services for this school year is hearing impaired sign language teacher.
Yes.
You said that we have one student that we're working with?
One at the elementary school, one at the middle school.
So is that teacher is funded through Weldon City Schools, or is that through something through DPI?
Right, she's contractor.
Okay. And so that person is not full-time?
Right, that's correct. Here at the end, I'd like to share with you the community partner event, the LICC, or the Local Interagency Coordinators Council, which includes Weldon, Halifax, Northampton, of preschool directors and preschool coordinators. We're working together to do a parent resource festival on January 22nd, 2024, 10 to 1 at the Halifax County Agricultural Center in Halifax. We'll have the table set up for family engagement, resources, information stations with a host of community providers. There will be more information regarding the vendors and providers in the coming days ahead. Are there any questions?
I have a question, Ms. Fields. I know that we have just recently lost one of our EC teachers down at the middle school.
Yes.
So I want to know, what is the plan to have those students service from this point of view?
Well, right now we have one teacher, one resource teacher, so she's covering math and reading.
Okay, but isn't that same teacher shared here at the high school as
Yeah,
well?
and there is a vacancy. We do need to fill that position. But right now, she's providing services for those children. And also, she's also the teacher for OCS at the high school and Charter Academy.
And Charter Academy.
And Charter Academy. And we do have an EC student in Charter Academy.
So how are we gonna get those students service? Or have them to receive their services that's written in their IEPs?
We participate. So using the staff that we have, providing services, reading and math, but we do know we're gonna have to address this. And hopefully we'll be able to hire a teacher soon.
It is being advertised, is that correct?
It's supposed to. We do have an EC.
It is.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Fields.
Mr. Williams?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. My first question is, Ms. Fields, do we have, amongst our EC teachers, do we have any, teachers? I know that there's a such thing as paper planning. Have we looked at that? Because if we can avoid compensatory services, then we certainly want to do that. But we also want to make sure that our children are getting the services that they need, and not have to make up on the back end if we can do paper planning with some of our EC teachers. Have we explored that option?
I'm not familiar with paper planning.
Is where a teacher, instead of them having like their planning period, they can opt to give that up and they are paid for that time that they're done. We've done it before in Weldon when we had a shortage of science teachers at the early college. They went over to the high school because we want to make sure that our students are getting their services now, not over the summer when EOCs and EOGs are over.
Mr. Robinson, were you saying paid for planning?
Yes. Paid for planning.
Paid for.
As long as that teacher has an EC license, for that, but I don't think we have any additional EC teachers.
You don't have any EC, are you saying that we don't have any EC teachers in the district that are certified?
No, I'm not saying that.
I don't want to speak for Ms. Robinson. I think she's saying that the current teachers could teach during that planning period and be paid for that.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I'm saying.
At the middle school, so the other one is self-contained, so he couldn't do that.
It doesn't have to be at the middle school or the high school. It can be a teacher in the district that's willing to give up their planning to support other students if you don't have more than one in that school. That's what I'm asking, because I want to make sure that our children are receiving their services now versus compensatory services over the summer or any other time.
Does the teachers have to be licensed in EC?
Yes.
Okay, so that's why I was wondering. So it just can't be just any random teacher. It has to be a licensed EC teacher.
Must have a license.
Do you have an answer for me, Ms. Fields?
Certainly other teachers in the district could possibly do that. I'm just thinking about their caseloads. But of course we could offer it.
It's absolutely, it's nothing that has to be done, but the teachers can, I mean, that's a conversation that can be held. And if they're willing to do that, then that's something that we can look at. I mean, we can't say that this is what you have to do because that's not technically a part of their contract, but it gives the student the support that they need now versus later. And another thing is we need to make sure if our students are not receiving the service time that's on their IEP, we need to probably go back and hold meetings to make sure that we're in compliance with the IEP.
If it's written in it, isn't it?
And it has to be followed.
Mm-hmm.
We can look into it.
Thank you for that information.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Fields.
My next question, Mr. Williams, I'm not done.
Okay.
My next question is Ms. Fields, you sent me a form and it's something I had asked about.
Right, the NC track.
Well, what I asked you about was if we did the random sample thing where the questions are sent out and then you have to report what is actually happening at that time.
Yes, we do participate.
I'm sorry, we do participate in that. Okay. But what you shared with me is something that, and I was a bit confused because it says NC Tracks provider allotment, but then it has your social security number on it. So based on what I'm looking at, if it's something for Weldon City Schools, it should not have your personal information up there because it wouldn't be tied to your social security number or your date of birth.
Yes, it is.
But it's asking for the office administrator, managing employee, or an owner. So that's something we might want to go back and look at. I'm not saying that it is completely wrong, but we definitely want to go back and look at that, because if it's tied to Weldon City Schools, then we need to make sure that your social security number is the right thing that they want. So we might just want to look at that.
Well, from the certification process, it looks sort of like it was a background check, that kind of process. And the previous person, which is the finance director, the current finance director, so I'm taking her place. So my information just, went in behind her information.
What did you say about current finance?
Yes, Matilda Campbell was the previous program director over NC Tracks for that Medicaid billing. So I am in that system.
Okay. Well, I would feel more comfortable with us checking into this, because to me, if it's tied to your social security number, then I'm not sure about that. So if you can go back and work with whoever you need to make sure that is correct. Because okay, yeah, because your date of birth and your social security number up here, that is alarming.
Yes, but that was the recertification process for the district.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
One last question. Ms. Fields, in the beginning of your presentation tonight, you let us know that the Medicaid reimbursement had been completed. Do you know the amount that we will be receiving back?
No, I do not.
And for how many years was that reimbursement done?
The last time NC Tracks was 2021.
So they allowed you to get reimbursement from back to 2021?
No, only a year.
Wow. Okay.
Do we know why it was not done? Because that's money that our district has, has not received or won't be able to receive. Can you share why that was not completed?
Well, I can make an assumption. I would think it would be because there was so much staff turnover. And of course, I believe at that time, with staff turnover.
But that's a part of EC. EC is responsible for filing that, correct?
Not in every district. In most districts, not in every district.
I think finance is probably the support person, and EC is probably the person who's responsible. And I could be wrong. Is that correct? Is Ms. Campbell still available?
Well, I completed the recertification process, so we can start getting that reimbursement from NC Tracks.
Okay, then, so, Ms. Fields, if you could just check in on those situations. To verify that everything is correct. Okay, thank you so much.
Just one more comment. Ms. Fields is now the lead person for this, Ms. Bird Robinson, to your comment.
Yes, EC has always been responsible for that as far as I know, but thank you.
Okay, the next item is break. Do you want a break? Okay, 5-minute break. Back in order now, reset. Dr. Salmonton, is there anyone for public forum?
Mr. Williams, we have one person signed up to speak. Ms. Regina Brooks.
Okay. Mrs. Brooks. Whichever you do. Hey, Ms. Brooks, you have 3 minutes and it'll start once you start speaking.
Let me know when you're ready.
We're ready.
Good evening, you all.
Good evening.
Good
I
evening.
have nothing new for you tonight, but I'm still gonna give you another copy. I'll take my time and read it. Board members, you've taken an oath for the children. I encourage each of you to avoid more shortcuts in their educational path journey. The following areas have been closely watched by me and are seen as shortcuts in your actions. 1, hiring providing people who are in love, have a passion for children. 2, diversity in all areas, on the board, students, educators, central services, etc. 3, public relations, community-oriented transparency. 4, a proven record of continuous success in education pre and post COVID-19. Check your record since 1997-98. Have a positive willingness, personality for all children. Sincerely interested in the welfare of all children in a holistic manner. Not too proud to say I'm sorry. 6, lead by example, walk the walk, talk the talk. Many employees are in the system for a very short time. Then they move on to the neighboring tier 1 systems. As stated by Maya Angelou, and I quote, "Let nothing dim the light that shines within you." Please keep this in mind when you're developing policies, procedures, and making personnel decisions. I'm only the messenger, I'm not a pressure washer, but when my cup runneth over, I call on Jesus, God, and Holy Spirit. You have a hostile environment, especially in your personnel department. I have copies of job descriptions that you sent out, especially for student services and grant. Before it can anyone can even apply, it was changed to one thing. Have a lot of things that people are talking about. You spend money to make it easier for people to just sit and push buttons and look to see. No closing dates, nothing. Made it so easy for you. Deadlines, adventures for student services, as I said, and grants. But last and least, I've given you this before. Please take a good look. All children deserve justice. All 3 can see the same game without supports, accommodations, because the cause of the inequity was addressed. The systemic barrier has been removed. That's what you need to do for all children in your system. I thank you. I have copies, as I said, it's nothing new. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks. And you could. Okay, next we have a discussion with CMAR contracts, which will require action.
Yes, board members. So this is a follow-up item to the discussion and action that the board took at its last special call meeting. As you know, at the last meeting, the board was presented with 2 particular bidders for your construction manager at risk. Who will be your CM for the new 612 project, and the board selected Clancy and Bates from those bids. So my colleague Rob Malone may have mentioned this at the last meeting. It's a multi-step process. So all the board did approve Clancy and Bates at the last meeting. We are now bringing the contract back to the board for approval. This should have been, sent electronically, earlier this week. And basically the agreement, it's rather lengthy. Most of it is standard form language for these types of arrangements that, my colleague Rod Malone has negotiated and refined over the years. The, key components for you all would be the compensation provision, which is in section 7.1, which establishes their pre-construction services fee at $243,000. Now, you will notice in that particular provision, there are some items that are labeled as TBD or to be determined. And that's just because as part of those initial pre-construction services, Clancy and Dave will further determine what the total cost of the project will be. And then what we will do is bring an amendment back to the board once all of those costs have been determined. So this is being presented for your approval tonight. Again, it's a follow-up to the action that the board already took in its previous meeting.
I make a motion to approve.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Ron, sorry.
Because of the areas to be determined, $243,000, they could easily come back with another $243,000. That probably won't happen. But when you have the language to be determined, it leaves a wide gap for dollar signs to be filled in. And I wasn't able to make that meeting, but I did see that. And I thought that they would have had a little more, I guess, specificity concerning those particular areas. I know the 243,000, that's probably just something general, but the other areas saying to be determined,
Well, these are, this is not certainly my area of expertise as much as it is Mr. Malone's, but my understanding is this is somewhat standard. The pre-construction services involve the steps that are necessary to determine what the overall guaranteed maximum price would be, the GMP. And that's something Clancy and Dave's, once they're approved, once the contract's in place, that they can work closely with your architects to nail down that number. So that is part of what they essentially do next. So it's not unusual for it to be a two-step process in terms of identifying the total overall cost of the project.
That's the same question I asked during that meeting, remember? I was asking about the prices going up, because we can't determine, we see this base price, but you don't know if there'll be additional costs. And he said that it depends on, how the project goes. If we get additional monies, then we will pay them a little bit more than that, because we'll have additional money. Remember he explained it to me, well, to everyone, because I asked the question. Because it wasn't clear. Only thing that was clear was just that amount that he just mentioned. But, the Sykes just mentioned, but, he said that right now, he said that they wouldn't go over whatever money that we were allotted. And it was already embedded into the amount that we were awarded. So it's not gonna go over, there's nothing that's gonna fall on our district to pay out.
That's correct. Right, so the 243 and whatever the additional amount is, it's all within the budget, whether, however much additional funds the board gets through this additional round of grant funding. As I understand it, we're going for the maximum amount. That's also sort of why it's TBD, because that could certainly affect if the board is awarded the full amount, obviously there's more money to spend, which then changes what the overall contract cost would be.
you've answered my question then, because again, given what the last audit said about not overspending, I wanted to make sure that everything was encapsulated in the total grant amount that we get for the construction of the new school. So if it's covered, then that I feel much better about it to be determined, amount because it's already built in, but I'm just making sure.
The TBD amount will be within your budget, whatever that budget ends up being after this next round of the grant.
Thank you.
Second motion.
I make a motion to approve Clancy and Fay as, their contract for CMAR. Second.
It's been motioned by Ms. Hale and seconded by Ms. Harrison that the CMOS contract, be approved. Are there any questions? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Ms. Robinson? Ms.
Aye.
Robinson? Okay,
Aye.
motion- Okay, thank you, motion passed. Next, we had a, 612 new school movement.
Mr. Chair, we share with you a presentation around the new process for the high school youth to the middle school location. And we gave you some options related to how we can do that. We come tonight to ask for your approval of one part of these options. That we're looking into, the purchase, and Mr. Hunter's on a very quickly go through, some slides so that you can get through this recommendation, and we're gonna bypass on the slide that we have, so that you can see what they're asking for.
Good evening once again.
Good evening.
So the first two sides are, what we had presented last month. That was the purpose of looking at the MOVE committee, which as you can see on the MOVE committee, we have a full committee that is meeting now. So we've added some names since we last met, or to be part of the MOVE committee. We talked about what was needed to be moved. So we get into the meat of the, what we're here for tonight, and that's looking at the cost. Even though we reported, we want to remind you of what the cost is looking like. For a moving company, we're looking at estimating, it's been estimated at about $50,000, what it will cost. For the modules, whether we lease or, and this is for lease and as well as the standard setup. Each module will cost $157,000. That's if we get 2 modules. For purchasing a module, we're looking at $213,000 per module. Storage unit for a 20-foot storage unit, and these are containers. So that price is $6,918.18. For a 40-foot storage container, $7,689.78, and that's for a 2-year lease. We can purchase a 40-foot container, and this is a used container, for $2,835. All of these estimates total $840,000. So the options that we had put together, option 1 was once again the modules. And if you notice, you'll see some additions to this page. So a module leasing it, as I stated, it's $157,000 per module. And we know we will need a module for classroom. Possibly maybe one for office space. B, we have, if we purchase the module, $213,000 per unit. Leasing the module, now this is the new addition that we added. A module lease, and this is a 4 classroom with a bathroom module. And you can see a diagram of that in the handout that was just passed out. So we lease one of those particular units, $403,329,000. Purchase a module, which is 4 classrooms and a bathroom, $519,499.40. This does include, setup fee, delivery and setup fees. Some of the modules will need some, additional mechanical, technological, electrical, and, plumbing. So that will be some extra fees on, for those sectors. Our option 2 that we presented was, getting a module, whether it's lease or purchase for a classroom. We also talked about looking at the pre-K building that's behind the, Weather Elementary site. And the use of it will be main offices as well as some classroom spaces. And we noted that, we would need some renovating, so, that would include some mechanical, electrical, some technology needs, upgrading, plumbing, carpentry, as well as, windows and paint. We have not had anyone to come out and give us an estimate yet, but, I do have someone scheduled to come out, tomorrow. So, we will have a price on that for you after that meeting. The diagram they're showing is for a individual module, which is 1 classroom. As you can see, it does have a, restroom provided with it, and that's one that I quoted to you for $157,000.
This purchase or lease?
I'm sorry, that's the lease. Purchase was $213,000.
Mr. Hall, excuse me, how long is the lease period?
2 years, 24 months.
Okay, so then after that time, we would have to renew.
Yes.
Which business do we have?
And there's a fee for them to come back.
Sure.
What's the money?
Before you go any further, Mr. Hunter, I don't know whether you are aware of this. You should be aware of it because it was discussion. You were here at that time. We've already been given figures for that pre-K building. That has already been done. Ms. Dameron took us down to Martin County where we looked at all of that. All of that has been done. Before, I remember, I think the rest of the board members remember what we're talking about, rehabbing the pre-K building. We've already gotten estimates on that. You may not have them, but I know that we've already done tours. We've already had contact persons, and it was in phases. You can do this part now. You can do this part now. You know, we didn't have to do it all at one time to actually put office space there and things of that nature. So I mean, Ms. Dameron, you're here. I mean, can you share some of that information?
Yes, I still have that information. Actually, when the committee met, we talked a little bit about it. And you're correct, it was done in phases, but I haven't reached back out, what's that been 2 years ago now?
Right.
To see what it would look like, but yes, those pieces, if that's something you wanted to consider, we can do it.
And I only say that because I know you said you had one person coming out to look at that. I'm just saying, we've had somebody to come before. Do y'all remember that? Cause we were talking about putting our boardroom over there.
That's a couple of years.
Yeah, and everything.
The prices probably have changed.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure of that. Yeah, prices change. I just only bring that to our attention tonight because I didn't know if you had that information. I was hoping that you were aware of it or at least remember when we went. So if Ms. Dameron, she says she can share that with you, I think that will go good with the additional information that you get because you can kind of have somebody else to, you know, compare with.
I do remember, y'all having a discussion as far as, and, we were talking about moving over.
Right.
Using that unit. But as you stated, I didn't have the.
Right.
The actual figures to go along with it. But I can check with Ms. Dameron. See what those numbers look like. So this particular diagram shows, as I stated, a 4 classroom, with the bathroom, module, and I gave you the numbers on that, which is, if we lease, that particular unit would be 329,000. Purchase, $519,599.40.
Hold on, go back over that again. Leases, how much? The 4 bedroom, I mean.
She wants you to go over the price again.
Oh, I'm sorry. So to lease the 4 classroom with the bath, it's $403,329. To purchase, $519,599.40.
And oh, I asked, the money, yeah. So our money. I know we haven't, I don't think that we had all of this money earmarked for the move, so where are we looking to?
We're getting.
Okay, all right.
So the third option that we had presented was a leasing or purchasing a model for the classroom. And we was also looking at, having someone to come out and look and extend and create office space at the central office, present central office. So what we was looking at is up in the warehouse area, we do have some room that we can, come in and have it renovated. And that way we can create some extra space to have small conference rooms as well as office space and make a larger conference room, to accommodate at least 10 people, small conference room to accommodate 4 people. But we have to do some renovations as far as mechanical, HVAC units, some electrical work, have technology, install, do some plumbing, which there's already some plumbing that's back there, but we just have to add on, tie into that, do some carpentry work. And we estimate the cost, if we went that option, around $50,000.
And that's for support staff.
Ma'am.
That's for support staff and
Yes,
those
ma'am.
additional offices.
Yes, that would be for support staff. And we still would need a module for the students. So those are the options that we talked about. And so the board action request for, go to the question now.
Let's take questions. You have questions?
The money? Yeah, I don't know, he said we're gonna get to it.
You have questions about the money?
Where's it coming from?
So there's really 3 things we need. One is for you to approve an option. We don't need that decision tonight, but if you want to make a decision on that, you can. The most pressing thing we need is a decision about the module. This is been in contact with companies, and it's about a 6-month window to construct the module. And so the design that you have, one is a more open space modular, and the other is a 4 classroom with a bathroom. Obviously, that's more expensive. So there are a couple of levels of decisions that you have to make. One is to purchase or lease. That's a decision you have to make. The other is to purchase or lease either the open modular or the 4 classroom to bathroom. So the 4 classroom modular gives us the best estimate of the space we need for classroom use, not necessarily content option. regardless of the option, we need a modular in any of the options. One of the options could be a modular for the students or classmates, but the second modular would be for staff. So depending on the option that we choose, we know we need one, depending on the option that we choose, we can do two. So after we looked at the cost, particularly the purchase versus lease amount, the lease amount is anywhere from like 75% of the purchase cost. And we discussed whether there would be some use or need for a modular after the 2 years. And there possibly could be, in the event that there wasn't, if we bought it, if there wasn't a need, we could sell it. If we lease, we pay 80% of what the 75% of what the purchase price is, and then it's gone. We don't have it. It's gone. Yeah. So this is a higher number, but there's an ability to recoup some of that money at the end. And the reason why the four classroom design is what we're recommending is the space need that we think we'll have for the students. Originally, the hope was that all the students and the staff of the schools could be housed inside of the building.
I ain't never think that.
So, well, we now know that that's not the case. So the second module, if you choose to do that, is for the adults. But you can choose not to buy a module for the adults, and we would go with an option that placed in either.
Central office or either the other bills.
Yes, one of the options.
So, the really quick board members, one other thing to think about, you know, in terms of purchase versus lease, is that a purchase, you know, would also implicate bidding requirements. So that could impact the timeline. I could certainly explore whether there are any exceptions that may apply. But that would just be one additional step if you were to approve that particular option.
So Ms. Hill asked about where does the money come from? And Ms. Campbell had reached out to the county early on to find out about our fund balance and capital outlay. So the district currently has enough fund balance and capital outlay to support this project. At our last meeting, Ms. Reverend Sykes asked us to have a conversation with the county about their willingness to fund this project. We have had an initial conversation, but we have not gotten to an answer about that.
Now, you said that, we have enough in our fund balance to cover,
Capital outlay.
capital outlay and fund balance. But what we're in trouble with is the local fund balance thing.
Different, yes.
Okay. So how much is in there? Because if something, you don't want to get down on that either. So
As of
if something
December-
happens in the next 2 years, then, within the next year, we use it, what we gonna do?
As
If I
of
may.
December, $1 million plus.
$1 million plus.
$1,127,000, $127,207.43.
All right, so Mr. Hunter, is there any way you can have this, because it's all over the place and I know you gave us information last month, but you updated it this time. So is there any way that you can pass this information on to us so that it's combined instead of all over, you know?
So y'all didn't get a copy of that? What part of the information do you need?
So
The
they
updated part that you gave tonight,
Oh, you did?
No,
No.
we just have this.
we just have these 2 sheets and that's
Oh,
it.
okay.
And it's just kind of like,
So this presentation was attached in December. but these two documents were not, but the updated presentation
The updated presentation, it is in there,
was in there.
but I know he gave us the information. He gave us the information previously. But I didn't get this updated.
Well, we can get this out to you tonight.
Okay.
We can get it detailed.
I want a tangibly printed copy. I don't, because it changes, and I've said as a board member, I go in and print, and then I get to the meeting, and some things been updated. So I want a tangible printed copy of.
That's fair, because
what's
there
found.
are some updates.
Right,
So
right.
we can do that.
But I do want to say this, Mr. Williams, along with that. I have still maintained the information from the last time. I'm not in support of leasing anything. I like what you said, Dr. Simonton, we need to buy it. And at the end, if we can recoup, it's ours. If we have additional need for it, it's ours. We have it. And we do have the funding to do it. I'm in favor of the 4 classrooms with the bathroom. We need that.
For your book.
That's correct. I'm also, but now I'm in favor of getting the used container, not the new one, get the used container. And I'm also in favor of the renovation at the central office, at $50,000 to put the additional space. I think that will give us everything that we need. And if we should need some additional at the middle school, I think it is enough space within the middle school where we could house some other offices, but we need that classroom space and those bathrooms for our students and the teachers that will actually be occupying that space. That's my position. Buy the new 4 classroom with the bathroom, do the $50,000 renovation for more office space at central office, and purchase that used container to store what we need to have stored during the transition process. We don't need a new container. We can use a used container to save money. But everything else, I think we need to own it. It needs to be property of Weldon City School. And again, at the end, it's kept up good, clean good. We may be able to get 40% back of what we actually spent, if not 50% of what we actually spent. You know, and that it'll be used, but I think we can recoup a good amount of money. And I will give kudos, especially at the high school, the custodians that we have here at the high school. Every time I come here, it smells good. Every time I go in the bathroom, it smells good. Here at this high school. So them going over there, I don't see them doing anything any less than maintaining that and keeping it clean, brand new. That's just psychology, if I can say it in that respect. That's my little take.
Well, we had said that we would rather have purchase than at least anyway. We said that in one of the meetings.
Right. And I guess I throw this out if I can't just insert this one little last thing, because I think, I said it earlier and I say it again. With it being, as Dr. Simonton said, approximately, either you said it or Mr. Hunter said it, 6 months out. If we kick this down the road to next month, that means it's gonna be July. And I heard what Attorney Weber said, we need to go ahead on and make this, if we gotta open it up for bids, something may come in less expensive. We need to go ahead on and, you know, say, let's move forward tonight. So Attorney Weber and Mr. Hunter and the team, if we need to start the bidding process, you know, we can bid it, because if we wait until next month to come back and say, start the bidding process, we already gonna be 60 days behind.
Well, I agree. I mean, I was just saying, I need to see the information. I want to see the information. I didn't have this before me, and I like to have it before me.
We're gonna get you a copy.
Okay.
And tonight.
So are we gonna go on the option table?
I'm ready to vote.
Okay, then first of all, let's vote on which option we want. Then we do the containers, and then we do the rehab at the central office. So the first one is there a motion to go with the 4 classroom for a purchase price of $519,000 $599.40.
So move that we move forward with the purchase of the 4 classrooms with bathrooms that was said price after we have to go through any process, and I don't know what that would be.
Right, so board members, I don't think you necessarily need to be approving the dollar amount, you're just approving the administration's proposal to purchase that.
We can't say the amount, but it'd be cheaper.
And then after bidding, whatever that cost is, it will come back to you.
Okay, we have a motion by Reverend Sykes.
Second.
Then a motion by Reverend Sykes, second by Ms. Harrison, that we purchase the 4 classroom setup with restroom. Are there any questions?
Question.
Go ahead.
Would there be a need for additional space?
Say it again.
Would there be a need for additional space at the middle school for the high school? Or just the 4 classrooms would be sufficient?
The modular is intended to take care of all of the space needs for both schools, but not for the adults.
Not for the adults, I'm talking about the classroom.
Yes, is it?
In addition to the 2 wings that's already available at the middle school. Okay. Yes. All right.
Okay.
Second.
Any other question? Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
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 Ms. Robinson?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Okay, next thing we need to vote on is the container.
I motion that we get the used container at the purchase price. We don't have to be there.
So I think, Dr. Simonton, correct me if I'm wrong, what you're looking for is just direction from the board as to which of these things, and then you can take whatever the next necessary steps are. Is that right? Whether it's required bidding, whether it, does not. So you're not necessarily asking them to approve these dollar amounts, is that right?
No, but if they're willing to approve one of the options, right?
Right, that's interesting.
That's what we did, we did that.
If I understand correctly, those dollar amounts, that's based on all the good research your staff has already done, to figure out what those costs might be. So you have a good idea of, what an option might cost, but what Dr. Simonton and staff need is just a selection of options. So you've already selected a purchase option for a 4 classroom module. Now, I think what you would be doing is voting on whether to buy a new or used storage container, with the understanding that it's gonna be roughly, somewhere around that price.
I motion that we go with the
Motion is used container.
Anybody
So
second?
need a second.
She seconded.
Okay, it's been motioned by Reverend Sykes and second by Ms. Harrison that we purchase the used container. Are there any questions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Ms. Vera
Aye.
Robinson? Okay, motion passes. Next was the renovation of the central office for office space.
Motion that we move forward with the renovation at the central office.
What was the?
Authorizing staff
Authorized
to move forward.
to move forward.
That was 50,000.
Approximately.
Approximately 50,000, and for the school, how much was it?
We can't say. We just authorize them to move forward because we said it has to be bidded. We can't put a dollar amount. It has to be bidded because somebody may be able to do it less than what the company proposed.
At the school too?
Correct.
Yes.
All of that has to be bidded.
Second, but they sticking on.
Okay, we have a motion by Reverend Sykes and a second by Ms. Harrison that we're looking to renovation of the central service for office space. Are there any questions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay. Take care of that. Okay, Andy Jackson for action.
Mr. Chair, at a previous meeting, we talked about the cost for hiring service provider to do the work to get the Andrew Jackson School on the National Historic Registry. I share with you those costs. There's one cost to do the study list process, and that cost is $2,750. The remaining cost to do the application is $3,500. So a total of $6,250, as proposed by the Hanbury Preservation Service to partner with Weldon City Schools. You also asked me to identify a funding source. So talking with Ms. Campbell, the funding source would have to be out of current expense. So that's the funding source for it, and it would be, I'll just stop there, current expense.
But,
I really believe that it's going to be in our best interest that we not explore that at this time, because we have been advised that in current expense, that's gonna be our fund balance, basically.
We would be looking at some unused salary, current unused salary to fund the 62.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of doing anything with that right now. If it's next school year,
what was the total amount that you had, Dr. Sam?
$6,250.
Repeat that price again, 6,000?
250.
And you said this is for, I know you said for the Andrew Jackson building, and this, you're looking at pulling it from salary, unused salaries. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Any other questions before we move forward? Okay, so the motion would have to be to use $6,250 from current expenses, which right now shows a unobligated fund balance of $557,049.07. Is there a motion?
Question, Mr. Williams.
Yes, ma'am.
The salaries that Dr. Symington is referring to, is he saying that's included in that fund balance? Because what I'm hearing him say is, we're gonna take it out of the unused salaries, but then you said something about taking out a current expense.
So it is not a part of that amount that Mr. Williams mentioned.
Okay.
So it's already taken. It's not.
So does the motion need to be for it not to come out of fund balance, but out of that unused pot of money that you're talking about?
So what I am describing is not out of fund balance, but out of current expense, and more specifically, out of unused salary for the 23-24 school year. So it would not be showing up in the fund balance currently.
So the motion needs to say what you're saying, right?
Current expense, yes.
Okay. No.
Also, we need to keep in mind that with that property at Andrew Jackson, it's rather hot commodity because they want to use it for the Underground Railroad. So we need to get something in place where we're doing something with it other than it sitting there.
Absolutely.
If not, it's going to get snatched from under us.
Exactly.
You have people that's in Congress and representatives that are for that. So we don't get on record as moving forward with it, or at least it's under study. We may, it may become eminent domain or whatever they may do, but going to the state level, I can see it going pretty quickly right before our eyes. But I do think we need to make some kind of, effort to go along.
Well, can I make a motion?
Before you make your motion, I got one comment. I want the record to reflect. Put it in there that I said in the thing. I'm not against the study. I'm against it in this school year because of what the auditors told us. I'm just saying, I wish we could defer it to be in the 24-25 school year. I'm for doing the study. I'm just not for doing it in this school year because of what the auditors came before us and said. I just wish we could move it to the 24-25 school year. I know we need to do that. Like you said, Mr. Williams, I know we need to do it. I'm in support of doing it, just not in this school year because of what our auditors told us. And I want our audit to be as positive for the 22-23 school year as we can possibly have it. That's why I'm saying at this time.
I make a motion to approve us to use the $66,250 out of current expense for the study list.
It's the study list and the application.
And the application for Andrew Jackson School.
Our motion is second. It's been motioned by Ms. Hale and second by Ms. Robinson that we use current expense money to move forward with the study and the application calls for Andrew Jackson School. Are there any questions? All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, we have all four. We have 6-1 and Reverend Sykes is nay.
That's what I said.
Okay, next we have, board special call meeting date. I think that's the same as we had G for you, Ms. Greg Robinson. Is that different?
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah.
Okay, board special call meeting dates, that was you also? Okay, Ms. Greg Robinson, it's on you.
I'm not sure if that's probably when I was saying that we need to look at dates in advance so that we can all look at the schedule to see what we can come up with. But that was last month that concern had come up, but we still need to look at dates where we all can meet and look at a couple of dates and not just one date that we can meet, because we do know that everybody's schedule is different so that we can all be on the same page.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Well, Mr. Chair, while we're talking about that, can we go ahead on the schedule of dates for our finance meeting right now? Because if not, we're gonna be June.
So is that a committee meeting?
Yeah, we need to we need to discuss our current budget, for next year. And we need to start talking about that as early as possible because Ms. Campbell just told us tonight that she won't be with us much longer.
Well, does that include what, the information that Ms. Dameron brought as well? Because that's all a part of finance. That you said that we needed to look at the beginning of the year, Ms. Hale?
I think we had to correlate that with Ms. Campbell and Ms. Demeron also. But we just set a date, can you think?
Well, you know how hard it is to find a date, so.
I think if we go ahead and set a date in advance, then everybody can kind of, look at their schedule.
As you're considering dates, we will need some time to put together a preliminary budget. And I'd say we're gonna need 3 or 4 weeks.
I'm talking about like it probably towards the end of February.
Okay.
But I just need to catch her before she exits.
Absolutely.
wanna look at February?
I do.
Okay. What dates are you looking at in February? The 21st through the 26th. That was a conference.
Okay. So what about the, 28th, the 24th, 29th?
I'm good at 27th.
27th?
I'm good on the 27th.
Okay. February. Mm-hmm. You're right.
So we have February 27th. We have any other dates?
27th, 28th, 29th is good. isn't it?
Yeah, he's on available the 27th, so.
That's the only
Is
date.
that okay with everyone?
I can make that work. It's far enough in advance where I can make that.
Ms. Hill?
27th time.
Okay. Ms. Barry Robinson,
Yes, I can make that work.
Harrison, Ms. Harrison,
Yes, that's good.
hey, Ms. Jenkins,
Yeah, I guess so.
Ms. Robinson. Ms. Robinson,
I guess so.
okay, Robert Sykes,
Yeah, I'm good at 27th.
okay, 27th. At what time we're gonna have it?
5:30.
5:30, is that consistent? Ms. Hill,
That's fine with me.
Ms. Barry Robinson,
Perfect.
Ms. Harrison,
Yes.
Ms. Robinson. Ms. Robinson,
Fine. Yes.
Ms. Jenkins, and Robert Sykes.
Yep.
Okay, the meeting is set for February the 27th, February the 27th, 2024 at 5:30. We anticipate all board members being present. February the 27th, 2024 at 5:30. Location, location,
Meet down at Central Office.
central office, we have central office.
Central Services. Yes.
Ms. Barry Roberts, she said central service.
Okay.
Ms. Harrison,
Yes.
Ms. Jenkins, Ms. Robinson,
Fine with me.
Yeah.
Roadside, okay. So finance meeting would be February the 27th, 2024 at 5:30 PM at Central Service. Again, that'd be February the 27th, 2024 at 5:30 at Central Service. Yes, sir.
I can make that, but I probably can't make it until 6 o'clock.
Okay. So we have Dr. Hamilton who can only get there at 6. Can we move that time to 6 o'clock?
Okay.
Okay. Ms. Hill? Ms. Barry Robinson?
Okay.
Ms. Barry? 6 o'clock.
Okay. That's fine.
Ms. Harrison?
Yes.
Ms. Jenkins? Ms. Robinson?
Yes.
Robert Sykes?
Right ahead.
Okay, so the new date, the date is February the 27th, 2024 at 6 o'clock PM at Central Service. That would be the special call meeting, finance meeting. We hope all members can be present. Thank you. Okay, next we have transportation.
Oh, that's me. I guess I need to direct this to Mr. Hunter or either Dr. Simon. I guess Mr. Hunter.
We'll start with him.
Yeah. We bought some new activity buses. Are they in the district?
Yes, sir.
How many activity buses do we have?
We have 4.
4 activity buses.
Yes, sir.
All 4 of those activity buses, they ought to be used for activities of the school district, right?
Yeah, they are.
Okay. So I'm concerned. We bought them for activity.
Well,
So let me get to my point. On yesterday, our student athletes the middle school had a game and the high school had a game. And I'm concerned about safety. We had two buses. The high school had to use one and the middle school had to use one. And we had two activity buses that were just standing alone, not being used. And our high school students, one bus was allotted, had to take a group of students over to Northampton County, and the others had to wait for the bus to come back and pick them up to take the second load of students to Northampton County. Now, I pose that because what would have happened if that had been a Warren County game, or an Edgecombe County game, or Rocky Mount Prep game, or Wilson Prep game? I'm concerned about that. And if there had been a problem, a mass shooting or anything, we would only have one bus to get our children, our student athletes, away from the scene of something like that. If we have buses that this district has bought for extracurricular activities of our students, it should not matter whether it is a game, whether it is a field trip, etc. Those 4 buses that Weldon City School District has are for activities of Weldon City School District. Now, I've heard, I posed that tonight, I've heard, I don't know, I knew this was the spot to ask the question, that the 2 new buses have been reserved for like field trips only. As a board member, that never came to me. I've never heard that. And if that is the case, who did it? When did it happen? Because my understanding of activity buses is for activities of Weldon City School District, period. And I don't see the benefit of keeping 2 buses reserved when the athletic department needed 3 buses because the middle school and the high school had games on the same night. To me, that is totally unacceptable. And if, as a parent, I would have problems with that. We have buses just sitting and not being utilized, and our students needed them. That's why I posed that tonight. So if you can answer that, or Dr. Simonton can answer that, or whoever, I just want to get some clarity.
So I agree with you. Unfortunately, I was told that those buses were purchased with funds through a grant that not only reserves them, that requires them to only be used for non-athletic activities. But that's what the information that I have.
I never heard that.
Me either. And
We use that ESSA funds.
Yeah, we use ESSA money to buy those buses.
Right, and that was written into the grant, the request.
Nope. That was not told to this board when we voted on it.
First time hearing it.
Yeah, this is.
Yeah,
That's the first time I've ever heard
That was withheld from the board, and that shouldn't have happened.
Oh, Mr. Hunter, let me ask you, were the coaches available to drive? Do you know? Because previously it said that all coaches had to have CDL.
Mm-hmm.
But if you only have one coach driving the bus and no one else is available, then that puts you on a hard spot. So I guess you could check into who has license.
One of the other extenuating factors yesterday was that the high school had a makeup day.
Right.
And so that's what caused the need for the additional buses. Otherwise, the buses would have been scheduled, so there was no need for the extra buses.
Well, Dr. Simon, and I'm just gonna say, because this is the time of the year that we have inclement weather all the time, you never know. And so there may be other makeup games this season in which we may have the same problem again. This is my first time, this is my first time hearing about this. But I do believe that, I was told that something similar to this happened last year. this school year, but last year. In regards to students having to be transported over to Northampton County.
A bus broke
It
down.
did. It
Okay.
did.
But this right here, like I said, this is my first time hearing it. I never knew, it was my first time ever hearing that, you know, about, you can't even use the bus. We have brand new buses, were they the old activity buses that the kids were on yesterday?
Yes.
Yes.
I asked the
Has
question
anybody been
too,
on?
I was there.
The new buses is reserved just for field trip. So has anybody been on the new buses yet? I mean, you, but I'm talking about the kids.
I think most of us would probably going through this scenario over and over. If you're checking to how the, buses were purchased, what kind of guidelines were in place for the purchase, and get that with us, yeah, I think that's all, because right now, everything is just up in the air as to what.
I'll give it Ms. Riddick, because Ms. Riddick showed it to me, but I'll bring it to the board.
And if you will, just check and see if coaches, if coaches had a CDL.
There ain't nothing we can do about it, it is what it is. We ain't
But
being
we
no-
need to know. Another thing before Mr. Hunter takes his seat, Mr. Williams,
That's Ms. Berry Robinson.
is related to buses. Mr. Hunter was supposed to bring some information to the board about the electric buses. I saw in the news the other day that more will be distributed in the district and, I mean, in the state. And I still have not received any information about that we were supposed to get back from Mr. Hunter concerning the electric buses, because we had talked about the ones that were distributed in our county.
So with the electric buses, that's, one of the things that, and I have to get more information and talk with Halifax County, because they're talking about the regular yellow school bus. So I have to see how our makeup is with them as far as, because I think we leased the buses from them. So that in turn goes back to, they get the information on, about the buses when, and as far as which buses are eligible to be, or qualifies to be used to get the electric bus. So
These are
that's.
buses, Mr. Hunter, that was coming from DPI. You were supposed to have been checking with DPI to let us know how did 4 buses come to our county and we did not receive one. That's what you were checking on for us.
And these were proposals that were submitted to DPI for electric, but they're brand new buses.
Right.
They're electric, and they also have terminals that gas will give them electricity.
Mm-hmm.
They have those too that come with it.
This was from the November meeting.
Mr. Williams, one thing on Mr. Hunter. In me being direct and asking about those activity buses, that's nothing that reflects you, because you came in this role after some things had been done. So I don't want anybody to think that I was, meaning it in any kind of way towards you. It was just alarming to me, that we had students, and I brought it up because as Mr. Williams said, to find out about that. Now, I know we haven't had any problems with both buses from the high school going when it was time to go. And as far as I've seen, it was always drivers in place, unless, somebody got sick or something. It's been drivers in place, but that was just alarming to me that, our students, because I say again, if it had been a district further away, I mean, would our girls team had to have forfeited the game? Boys had to forfeit the game. It's just so many components there. And I didn't know that the ESSA funds had been put into play, if they were put into place in that respect, to restrict the use of an activity bus to just field trip. I don't remember seeing that, but I know you're gonna take a look at it. But it was not intended to be towards you, like you were accountable for it, because I know you assumed that it was just alarming to me that our student went through that yesterday, our student athletes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hunter. Next, we have F district attendance policy. Ms. Robinson.
Yes, Dr. Simonton, back in November, we requested a look at the attendance policy so it could be implemented for the second semester. And we've heard our principals tonight talk about our students having to make up the seat time that they've missed. That means that they're not in school if they have to make up seat time. If we need an attendance policy that's rigorous and is strict, and I request again that be looked at, and we also look at our parents who are having to go to court behind their children not going to school. Because we do have children that have parents that have to go to court who are not coming to school. But if we have a policy in place that everyone knows about, parents and teachers and students alike, we will be able to enforce it. Last year, we had students graduating with over 50 absences, and we were talking about raising test scores. We can't raise test scores if the students at home, and the parents may not know because they at work.
We have started that process. We have taken a look at several school districts that have attendance policies. Some of those attendance policies are attached to grades. And we will bring forward, I have to tell you that I was thinking that this was a look towards the 24-25 school year. But we can bring you a proposal that takes a look at various districts. So we took a look at some districts that are in the region. We also took a look at some districts that are in the state. We looked at districts that have attendance and grades so that if you miss a certain number of days, that you do not get credit. So that's probably the most distinctive feature of the attendance policies that we've looked at. Most of the attendance policies that we looked at do not have a limit on the number of absences as it relates to the awarding of credit for the course.
And to the extent that it helps board members, so you do have an existing board policy governing attendance. It's policy 4400. And you know, the board of the district is part of the NCSBA's model policy service. So it contains, you know, the basics that would be required under the applicable statutes like the compulsory attendance law, as well as there are some aspects that are governed by the State Board of Education, their policies, and through what's called the Student Accounting SASA manual. I can't remember what the other S stands for. But so I say like to say you do have an existing policy that establishes, you know, what the various types of unexcused absences might be, and incorporates some of the requirements that Ms. Robinson was referring to around, you know, the potential for court action into a compulsory attendance law violation. So there are those general, you know, basic components in place. You know, as Dr. Simonton shared, you know, some districts go beyond that. And that's certainly something that Weldon City Schools can consider. I'd be happy to help, you know, assist if there are going to be any revisions to your existing policy. Another good resource might be NCSBA themselves. Kathy Boyd there and their policy team, you know, I'll often reach out to them if one of my boards is interested in seeing what other districts are doing on a particular policy that goes beyond whatever the basic model NCSBA policy contains. So, but staff are obviously a superintendent or someone else would be free to contact them as well. So that would just be another good resource if you want to get some examples. They also will often pull from other states. They have some repositories that I found to be very helpful. But I still have to say there is an existing policy in place. It complies with the bare minimum and reflects the bare minimum requirements under applicable statutes and State Board of Education, policies. And to the extent that there's any, training needed on that policy, that could be, discussion. But, if the board does want to consider modifying that basic policy, that could help.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next item is G, district call time.
My concern about that is the time that was, and I do realize that sometimes we have to, if something starts, if the weather starts later at night, but based on WRAL, based on other school districts, a call was made pretty early about the time. It was about 10 minutes to 12 the other night before that call went out. My concern is some parents were probably already at work and could not make arrangements for the children because they were already gone to work or sleep and did not get that call until maybe the next morning, or may have missed that information because we were running out. I want us to look at Dr. Simonton trying to make that call earlier when all possible. Like I said, I do realize that sometimes weather starts later in the night, but this was fairly early when they started this conversation about the possibility. And I know that surrounding districts and other districts had kind of made that call pretty early, fairly early. So I want us to give our families the same courtesy and not having the call go out at almost 12 o'clock.
Yes, we agree. Not to bore you with the details. We were monitoring the weather pretty much the whole evening. What happened, and I shared some of this with you earlier, is our message system is set up not to send messages after 9 p.m. or before 6 a.m. But last week we had a meeting to adjust the settings, and we thought we had that pretty much set up, but it was way earlier than the time that the call went out that we made the decision, but it was much later before we actually were able to get all of the technology worked out. But I think we have the technology worked out, so that won't happen again. Am I saying that right, Ms. Duffy?
All right, thank you, Dr. Simonton. Okay, let's go to consent agenda. Through the accept the consent agenda.
I move that we accept the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been motioned by Ms. Robinson and seconded by Ms. Hale that the consent agenda be accepted. Are there any questions? All in favor, aye?
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, we need a motion now to go back into closed session.
Need a motion to go back into closed session.
Second.
Been motioned by Ms. Hale, second by Reverend Sykes to go back into closed session. Are there any questions? All in favor, aye? Aye. Ms. Gregg?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.